Hello, welcome to another MT Doctrine, and in this episode I want to talk about the United States of America, or what this country is really called in reality. So, right off the bat, I want to just make something very clear. So, I think that this is a good country. It is. There's great opportunities here. If it's the right place and the right time, that's important. And of course, freedom of speech. Also with equality. I mean, any person can kind of go anywhere and do almost anything that they want in this country. They're not really restricted. Those are good things. But it is by far, it is not a great country. It's not. And the history of this country is the reason for that. That we live in the United States of America. Now, if you are watching this video and you are not in the United States, maybe you live somewhere in Europe or some other particular country, then this doesn't really pertain to you. It's more of an observation that you may even agree with of how we treat each other as Americans. So I am born and raised in the United States. I was born in Illinois. I lived in Texas, I lived in California, so I am born and raised in the United States. But the history of the United States is something that you can't ignore. There are a lot of things in our tenure that we have done that does not make us a great country. I do not think that we live in the United States of America. We live in the divided states of America. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this episode. Okay, let me jump right into it. I do not think that this is a great country because since day one, when the country was established, we have always been divided. We have never been united. We are united when something horrible happens, which compromises all of our way of life. Then we put down our pettiness and we want to be more united. But then it dies off and we're back to being divided. When the United States, before the United States was established, there were people that lived on the east coast of this country, the 13 colonies, 13 different states, and they were controlled by the British. And they did not like that. They did not like the taxes and the particular treatment that they were getting from the British, which wasn't that bad compared to what they would eventually do to their own people in a very short period of time. They did not like being controlled by the British. They wanted their own country. And that led to the American Revolution. And during the American Revolution, that was basically towards the end of that, in 1776 when it first happened, was the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, establishing a new country with a new set of ideals that other countries should aspire to. Freedom, opportunity. This is what the founding fathers wanted to establish for this new country. But here's the problem with that. When the country was formed, slavery already existed. They said nothing about equality, about all people being equal. No, slavery was never addressed. The founding fathers basically just said, we'll get to that sooner or later. They did not nip it in the butt to begin with. They should have said, we are building a new country that is equal, regardless of a person for what they are on the outside, their sex. It doesn't matter. We are establishing this new type of country. They never had the balls to finish the job. They assumed it would eventually be solved, but it only got worse. Thomas Jefferson, even people specifically, they knew slavery is a bad thing, but you dare not let it go. That's what Thomas Jefferson said. He said, slavery is like a wolf. Okay, that you are holding a wolf by his ears. You didn't like it, but you dare not let it go. That was basically the mentality for what the founding fathers felt. They did not really know what that meant and why it was probably never resolved. Because if it was resolved, then they would have had said that to begin with. They never did that. So as a result, nothing happened. And the issue of equality, specifically with slavery, only increased until it got to the Civil War. James Buchanan, the president right before Abraham Lincoln, he did not run for a second term because he knew what was coming. And he also did not want to pick a side about whether he was for slavery or against slavery. The Civil War is the true understanding of what this country is really all about. When the country was formed after the American Revolution, it was all on paper. It was just a theory. But the Civil War definitely proved the true intentions of the country and what it will continue to do even to this very, very day, which is being divided. The country during that particular time period, is the best definition of being divided. But luckily, there was a rational, intelligent person that called bullshit. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln saw the particular lifestyle of the South and said, no. That's not going to fly. That is morally not the right way to live a life. You're doing slavery. That's a bad thing. That's bad. And the South, their argument was, whoa, now, this is affecting our economy. They didn't care that they were basically abusing people and basically using them in very horrible ways. They didn't see it. They just saw it as it would be affecting their economy. The ideology was basically being put into place that will continue for further generations, even to this very day. It established the baseline for stupidity and unintelligence and why we are divided. But Abraham Lincoln basically, he played it cool and he didn't really say, oh no, you're not doing slavery and this is the law. Well, what happened? Well, the South knew that eventually something was going to happen. They knew Abraham Lincoln's intentions, even though he never said that he did not want to do anything with banning slavery. They saw the writing on the wall. So once he was elected president, even though Abraham Lincoln was not on the ballot on any of the southern states, but he still won. I mean, it's like the next day after, like a month later, South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, all of them started to secede from the Union. They said, okay, fine, we'll do our own country. So you have your country, so you can do your own stuff. We have our own country. And in their own country, they have slavery because that's part of their economy. They're thriving off of slavery as the mechanism for why they are very successful. But Abraham Lincoln said, no, you can divide the country all you want. That is still morally wrong. And of course, the Civil War came. The Civil War is the worst war in U.S. history. World War II was horrible, but the Civil War was over 600,000 in terms of casualties. Basically, among people in the same country fighting each other. And not about race, like, oh, we're fighting over black people. It had nothing to do with the color. Now color was a particular aspect of it, but it was not the only aspect. It was about the ideology that people had. The South had a particular ideology. It set in stone the acts of human aggression about being entitled, self-centered, oblivious, misanthropy towards a group of people. They did not think that black people were an actual human being. They're something different. They're lower tier. It set the standard for why things are divided. So the Civil War is what I always look at for the main root cause, the proof why the country is divided and continues to be divided, even though there aren't particular lines on a state or a county that says, this is for the South, this is for the North. This is where black people live. This is where white people live. This is where women live. This is where men live. No, those lines aren't basically written, but they are definitely there, and it shows in how we treat each other in the country. So, the creation of the country not being very clear about total equality and the Civil War itself, it established the baseline. It established the standard of being divided. Well, what's the first case of the country being divided? Which group are we talking about? About whites and blacks. And it continues. It continues to show the divide between men and women. I mean, think about this. Women were not able to vote until the 1920s. I mean, think about this for a second. It's like the country thought, well, okay, we'll let black men vote, I guess. But women, no. We can't have them voting. That's crazy. They belong in the kitchen, cooking the food and taking care of the family and the kids. That's their job. There was a very clear divide between men and women and how the country treated women. That's in our history. What else do we have? Well, what about World War II? When the Japanese attacked and they bombed Pearl Harbor, the Japanese in the United States were targeted as, well, you're the bad guy. You're bad. And they put them into camps. These are Japanese American people. They see themselves as Americans, not as Japanese. But they were singled out because of this incident, and they were put into these camps for their protection. Sure. I guess slavery was also for black people's protection as well. That's another case of a divide, a division of the country. Because once again, it established the behavior. What about gay people? Gay marriage, the gay community, the same thing. The country does not like the idea of gay people, gay marriage. There's a clear divide in that as well. When you see countless movies out there, or anything about history, about the United States, and the troubles, the challenges that we had, is all because of some kind of fight or disagreement between different groups of people. Even the rich and the poor. That happened in this country. The rich get richer and the poor gets poorer. All of that is for a reason. It's a very clear division between the different groups that exist in the country. So once again, what about ideologies? Republican, Democrats, they will never be able to work together. Never. Well, why should they? They have very different ideologies. Basically, it is night and day difference. One is pro-gun, one is anti-gun. One believes in pro-choice, one believes that no, you should not do abortions. The Democrats and the Republicans will never get along because that's the standard of the country. Division. Of course. Why would a Republican senator help out a Democratic president or vice versa? Why would I help and benefit the legacy of a president of a different ideology? Why would I do that? I don't know. That's crazy. Even though they all preach of taking care of the people of the country. No, you're not. Because once again, we have established that division in the country. But this division of different groups in this country, it's out there even on the media. Not just the history books, even the media itself and what people in this country are talking about. I remember there was a segment by Bill Maher, and he was talking to a Republican, and he talked about, can you ever agree, have some common ground with a Democrat? And it was like basically pulling teeth. There's basically no agreement between the parties. That's why the country would never be good or be great. No, I'm sorry. The country is good, but that's why the country would never be great, because we never want to work together. Or you see a particular, this was a story that I saw about, there were two gay people at an airport, and some guy was very vocal that he did not like gay people, and I think he kicked them. And all the other people nearby, they rushed him down to the ground. That's not tolerated. That is hate. You have to coexist. If you don't like it, you can go to a different planet. That is the rules of being on this planet. You have to coexist whether you like it or not. But this country, once again, has established the division. And that article that I saw, it was just another example in all of this. Even the different, the body size. We talk about people who are fat or plus size or curvy, where that particular body size is undesirable. That's not beautiful. You know, people make fun of people who are overweight. Well, of course, that's the standard of the country. I can give you so many examples about this, but I think you already know that. If the United States of America is an actual person, he has to probably be this very tall, strong, proud person. We're proud. But they're wearing this turtleneck, long sleeve shirts and pants. What you don't see on this strong, proud person is this big scar from the neck down the body, down to the leg. That shows basically how divided we are. How we have had hatred for different economic classes, rich, poor, for the different races. That's the big one. We have, and we will always be racially divided in this country. Even if we don't talk about it, there is a very clear division of what we think and what is part of our ideology and part of our virtual world. It's in there. It's part of who we are. Jonah Hill talked about that he was walking and somebody, I guess there was some photographer or something like that. And Jonah Hill called him a faggot or something like that. And, you know, people were like, well, what? He's saying a gay slur. And, you know, so Jonah Hill was like, no, I didn't mean it. It was just something that came out. And I'm like, well, I don't know the guy personally. But I analyzed Jonah Hill and what he said. And I'm like, well, remember, that's part of our subconscious. That's part of our virtual world. And when we're communicating into the real world, we put up filters so we don't say what we are really thinking. But those filters can be weakened if we get upset or angry in pain. In this case, he was annoyed because somebody with a camera is snapping pictures. Not caring about his privacy. They didn't care. They want pictures. He got annoyed. That's a negative feeling. That weakened his filter. So that probably came out. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Only he knows because, well, I don't know him. But that's another example that maybe that's just how we're all wired. We are always divided because this country is divided. Everywhere you go, there is some division of something that is going on. Some person that we are hating because they are part of a different group. Now you can say, well, they do this in other countries as well. I'm talking about this country. I'm talking about the context of this country because the name of the country is the United States of America. We are not united. We are and we will always be divided because that's how it was created. I always ask myself, and it's a question that I ask my friends a lot. If you could move to any other country, where would you move to? And I'm thinking, well, I'll probably move to Canada maybe, or one of the countries in Europe. Maybe London. I don't know. I'm very comfortable living here in this country. I have figured out how to live in this country. I have figured out how to not get angry or upset. Now, you may think, well, you seem to be upset right now in this video. I'm not upset. I'm not. I like to analyze. I do that a lot. That's part of my job, actually. I analyze. I try to make sense of the world that I live in, the things that I do, the job that I do. That's kind of what I do. I like organizing. I like structure. And that's kind of what helps me understand. I know exactly how the country runs. I know the do's and the don'ts. And that's, once again, what I create for the videos for the MT Doctrine. I am sharing with you my experiences of what I have analyzed and observed, giving you reasoning and proof to my methods, providing formulas, and give you information on what we all do. We all do the acts of human aggression. Remember, we are human beings. We are aggressive animals. That means all of us. That doesn't mean you guys and not me. We are all on the same boat. But again, I have learned how to live in this type of society and how to not be affected by people that do certain things or the actions that they actually do. So, yes, conservatives, they are very proud of their country. This is a very good country. We stood up and we did really good things in World War II. I'm very proud about what we did. I am. You know, there was a madman, Hitler over there, really, really bad, that needed to be stopped. And the United States, along with Russia, they were part of that effort to bring down evil in the world. So yes, I think the United States probably know that they are evil, but they're not that evil. Yeah, they do bad things, but that could be just the symptoms of human beings. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, and that's just the way that we are wired together. So, hey, this is my country. This is what I represent. But it's important for me to articulate what happens in my country and how we as people should actually make improvements and making us better people. We have to learn how to coexist and live together. I'm not talking about marrying someone. No, we have choices all the time that we can do. But you have to learn how to coexist. You have to use common sense courtesy. You got to try to think of others and not be impacted by things if it doesn't impact you in any way. Just some things to think about. Thank you for watching this video of the MT Doctrine. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.